Hi, Science 10. So I'd like to go over the answers to the acceleration material that we looked at that I gave out last week. And then I'll give you a take-home quiz for the first part of motion um, uh, that we did with velocity, time, and displacement. So that'll be the first half, basically the quiz for the first half of the unit. Then I've got one more section to cover for acceleration. I'll do that next week, and then I'll give you the second half of the unit quiz, take-home quiz for that, and that'll be it for the course. Okay, so we basically just need to go over a little bit more of acceleration, which we'll do so next week. Okay, so you basically, instead of giving you a unit test, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you two take-home quizzes, one for the first half and one for the second half. So I think that'll make things a little bit easier for you. Okay, so let's go over the word bank here. So some terminology. So remember we talked about things as either being vectors or scalar. Vector means that you're going to have both direction and magnitude. So that's what velocity is, right? It's a vector term. The change in velocity. So first off, the change in velocity is defined as the final velocity minus the initial velocity, which is the same thing we did with the change in displacement. Okay, so when something is speeding up, it's going to have the change in velocity is going to be positive, which indicates the final velocity is bigger than the initial velocity. It's negative when it's slowing down. If it's a constant velocity, this means the change in velocity is going to be zero because you have the same final as you do initial. Acceleration is defined as the rate of change in velocity. So when something is accelerating in the positive, it's the positive acceleration, the object is speeding up. If it's negative, it's decreasing. Okay, that's assuming the velocity is in the positive direction. So when the acceleration and the velocity are in the same direction, object's going to speed up. When they're in the opposite direction, it's going to slow down. Okay, and that's called deceleration. Okay, so let's look at some calculations here. So again, your final minus initial, that's what the change in velocity is. Okay, so that's what it says up here. Okay, so here your final is 5 meters per second. Your initial is 14, so you have a change in velocity of negative 9 meters per second. So that tells the object is slowing down. Here the initial and final are the same, so your change is 0. Uniform motion. Okay. This one's plus 12, so your object is speeding up. Now, this one's a little interesting. So you're starting with positive 20, and then you have negative 30. Okay, so if I just kind of draw what that looks like. So remember, let's say this is horizontal motion, so the right is positive, the left is negative. So what's happening here is you're going at 20 meters per second this way to the right, and then at some later point you're going 30 meters per second to the left. Okay, and notice how I drew this one bigger because it's a bigger magnitude. So what's happening here is you're slowing down as you're going to the right, and then at some point you stop. Okay, so you stop at some point, and then what happens is you turn around, and now what's happening is you're speeding up in the negative direction. Okay, so if I were to write this down as a description, I would say your object is slowing down, and then it turns around, and it starts going faster in the negative direction. Okay. Next one here. So notice here you're starting with negative 38, and then you're going to negative 48. So this is a speeding up. So again, this is a negative, but what the negative is indicating is the direction you're going at. So you're speeding up in the negative direction. Okay, so like you're going west and you're going faster west. Okay, here again, 0 means uniform motion, and then this one is kind of the opposite over here. What's happening is you're starting out in the negative direction, you're slowing down, and then you're picking up speed in the positive direction. Okay, so you're here, you could say you're speeding up in the positive direction after you turn around. Okay, and then this one here, so again, it's the same as what we're looking at in the previous table. You just take your final and you minus your initial, and that gives you the change in velocity. Okay. Okay, and so here's the subtractions for that. Okay, and then here's some scenarios. Airplane taking off, so like, when you're on the runway, you're definitely going to be picking up speed, so that's a positive acceleration. Standing still, you're not moving, 0. Braking as you approach a red light, so you're going to be slowing down as you get to the red light, so you have a negative acceleration in the opposite direction you're moving. Constant velocity, okay, so anytime you see this term, that means you're not speeding up, you're not slowing down, you're staying at the same speed, so that's always going to be a 0 acceleration. Okay, and then here pictorially, that's to the right, so it's positive, that's to the left, so it's negative. Here this is your initial velocity, this is your final velocity, so you're slowing down, so that'll be negative. Here's your final velocity is -4, your initial velocity is -1, so you're speeding up in the negative direction, so the negative acceleration. Okay, so these are in the same direction, that's why you're speeding up in the negative. Here what's happening is at each second time interval you're going the same distance, 20 centimeters, right? So you're staying at the same speed, so that's uniform motion, therefore it's 0. And then space shuttle taking off here, you need a lot of thrust, so that's going to be a positive acceleration. Okay, so I'll stop there. I'll continue looking at acceleration next week. What I want you to do over the weekend and hand in by Tuesday is the first half unit quiz on velocity. Okay, so take home quiz, and then you can submit that online. Okay, so we're almost at the end here. Keep getting stuff done. Most of you are submitting your work. I'll within the week or so, I'll kind of tabulate everything and give you an updated mark, which basically will be a combination of what you had before spring break with all the online stuff that we've done afterwards, okay, to give you an overall final mark. Okay, so I'll stop there. Stay safe, and I'll talk to you again on Tuesday. Okay, bye now.